Oh my goodness. Seriously, I have to just do it. It's like I can tell myself I don't have to think about things that don't matter.
I was designed to do those things. How the hell does this guy know this about me?
It's impossible to not see.
When Dan read for my sister, she was like, he's psychic. She's like, how did you know that?
Yes.
She's like, it's human design, guys. Like, it's just a testimony of how legit it is.
Seriously, Danny was like FBI or CIA. He's like, how the hell does this guy know this about me?
Having my chart read, there were just thing after thing after thing that I was just like, wow, that's me.
This man is reading me and I've never met him before.
I was in the midst of one of the biggest emotional waves I've ever been in my life, and he saved my life.
It seems like everybody has the same reaction. It's that aha moment, and they want to find out more. Hello, everybody. Welcome back to another episode of the Human Design Advantage podcast, our Wednesday night show. My name is Jen, and decoding the matrix for us is Dan.
Hey, Jen.
Hey, Dan. How are you?
Feeling like a master decoder tonight.
Absolutely. And we've got Robbie on with us tonight. So welcome, Robbie. Thank you for joining us.
Robbie Porter, reader, knower of etheric fields.
I know things.
Yes, lots of things. Yes, we've been talking a lot about tonight's show. For those of you who are tuning in, we are going to be doing a HDA challenge where we're going to be going over Tesla's chart and Edison's chart. And we also brought some more information to the table because when we were researching this, I can't remember when they released the FBI files on Tesla. My friend Sheena actually brought it to my attention this morning. So thank you, Sheena. Shout out to you. Definitely have to give you credit on that one. But you guys can see the files. I've already put them in the description. We're going to be going over the third set tonight on some information that were found in the FBI files. You can go to the FBI.gov and look it up yourself. The links again are in the description, but does talk about Tesla not being from this planet. And we're going to compare that to Edison's chart as well. And why was Edison so triggered by Tesla in the first place?
Trigger.
On an energetic front, as that. This is just a chemistry, guys. Automatically, the bodies would have picked up on this. So we're going to decode all that tonight. Before we get into it, make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show.
Yep. Follow the show. Follow the booking page, too, so you can drive yourself or yourself with your couple and your family in for a reading, and we can analyze your charts for you and get on to what your blueprint is telling you guys. Everyone needs to know.
Absolutely.
You change the planet by changing yourself, and you do that through human design by learning how you are wired.
Thank you, Robbie. Perfect.
Good. Oh my God. Thank you, Robbie. Yeah. So Edison and those guys were in close proximity to each other. This is one of the reasons this analysis seems interesting. It's one thing to analyze two guys or two people that just hardly ever see each other, right? You know, like, right. Whatever, Elon Musk versus Jeff Bezos. Well, those guys don't do any time together. These two were thrown together. They were in aura to each other. And how substantially, I'm not sure, but for over quite a spell of time, they worked together.
Yes, they did.
So they rubbed off on each other. So there would have been, you know how it goes. Once that's the case, stuff is personal to each of the people. So it gets personal. So, and there was also some conjecture over which time of which birth was his. If you have the other chart up, at some point we'll bounce to that one and say we have some curiosities about that.
Yes, we have the one that we did last week, which the date was 1856. And that is what, if you Google it, that is what is listed. In the set of the FBI Tesla files that we're going to be looking at tonight, the part where it says Venusian does mention the year 1856, but different parts of the document say 1859 in a couple of different locations. So I didn't dive into every single one of the different charts. What I did was take the chart we did last year and changed it to the different year. But Robbie brought up a good point that that could have been him entering into the United States using writing a different date and time or different year.
Absolutely.
And that happened a lot going through Ellis Island. Like numbers would get in a 6 and a 9. I mean, can be easily probably, but and who trusts the FBI anymore, for real?
Right.
I was like, I don't know. There's so many different days.
They're working on it.
At this point, everything they have to me is a digit they chose on purpose for some reason, rather than allowing it to just be because it was true. So any truth that comes out of the FBI is coincidental, or out of the alphabet soup place is incidental, mostly, as far as I'm concerned. And place does matter. So there will be some variation. We saw what happened with Obama, right?
Yes.
Absolutely.
Yeah. At one point he was one profile, which he was not. And if he was born outside in a different country, he happened to be a different Kenya. He happened to be a different profile, which with a different definition, which actually described him. Forensically, it appears that, so place matters. Do these two charts, I don't know how you did it, are they put together? Or
no, I did not put them together.
Let's just go to Edison.
Okay.
So Edison had some demons.
What you think?
He had some demons.
I wanted to put lizard right by his whatever tagline, inventors, what I put, but that's just my opinion.
Lizard inventor?
Yeah, or he is a lizard.
Jen and I were joking.
Disguised as an inventor.
Like he was a reptilian, which, or like, something,
Or certainly affected by one of the two. I mean, something was going on with this man because, the thing is, it's a product of the time too. So lizard or not, this man was conditioned. Even if he was a lizard, it was sitting amongst all the generating humans. He would have been conditioned and into being who he's not. Actually, I don't know that I could read a lizard's design. I don't think we have them. Rod didn't.
Oh yeah, we've already done a couple, Dan. You did the queens.
Oh yeah, that's true. So what, guys? What is going on here? They're in a human body where the design still applies.
You're reading the avatar
because it would. I mean, if you look at how, like, it actually, that chapter that I read to you today out of the Keys of Enoch today, Jen. As you get farther into that chapter, he actually talks about like how they descend down into physicality, and can like light beings and dark beings can both do it, which is fascinating. So it's almost like a soul braid or like a soul walk-in or like an overcloak or something where they cloak into the energy.
The mechanics they step into, the vehicle they step into is still just 100%, from the mother.
I would say the vehicle would still operate the same, because the way that I see human design is like you're deciphering whether it's a Porsche or a Ford or a certain type, whatever type of model that the oversoul is going to be driving. I think it would still navigate the same in the earthly field. And I know a lot of like what these higher reptilians do is it's not like it's them hijacking the soul. The passenger would be hijacked pretty much, and they would be the ones driving the vehicle. If that makes sense.
There have been some hijacked souls on this plane, and I have a feeling we don't even know. Well, me, I have a feeling I have no idea to what extent.
What if you're starting to see it more and more come out? I mean, they've been putting it in our faces for a very long time. Go watch that AE movies, They Lived.
Yeah.
I had a dude's eyes like shift right in front of me from like round pupils to like reptilian pupils.
You saw that with your own eyes, Robbie?
Yes. And I was like, hey, let me get your picture. it's my birthday. Let me take your picture.
Were you on anything or experiencing any
No,
altering?
it wasn't.
Okay.
I probably wouldn't have seen it then.
No,
I would have been too distracted.
well, that's
But-
incredible. I saw a spaceship once. I don't know how else to say that. It hovered right over me. I was
Seeing
there.
all sorts of kind of
Yep.
crazy stuff.
So anyway, so this man, okay, he had these little devils inside of him. Okay, because I'm going to speak to Edison's not self. He wouldn't have known. There would have been times where his 9-centered vehicle was perfectly operating as a 9-centered vehicle or wanting to. Okay, these would have been the times when there was nothing at stake. So he could have been a perfectly good 9-centered grandpa to some grandchildren, or you know what I'm saying, when there's not a lot at stake in a conversation and he's whatever and he's just being his nice principled self. That's entirely, that happened in his personal life from time to time, but out in the world and primarily he would have stayed who he is not. And the couple of big devils pointing on at him were his desire to never lose. He's got that open ego with 2 gates on it. And these 2 gates are the 51 wants to be first. It wants to win. It wants to compete. It literally wants to compete with itself. It loves the excitement of getting it. You know, that ego reward I talk about over and over again. He wanted to crush it. Let's get it. You know, in our 9-centered world that we keep waking up into more and more, me saying to you, I just want to crush it, is something you would want to applaud afterwards. Oh, all right, man, you did it. You crushed it.
I'm having a defined ego in this case. I know exactly what you're talking about.
Right. But to us, crushing it doesn't infringe on anyone else. Back
Right.
in the mid 1800s, when this man was born, they still were heavily conditioned by the old way. We're still heavily conditioned by the old way. Imagine back then.
Yes.
Closer to the moment of impact of the change. And so I have to make these presumptions, and I make them with all due confidence. That open ego of his, gate 21, he's got it twice, and it wanted to control things. So gate 21 and his ego look down on the planets. It's there twice, and it's in his unusualness. And his for this would have been where he wanted his uniqueness to be as well. It's and Uranus, and 21-2 is basically the person who gets called. It's where might is right. 21-2 is basically might is right. It's a form of like, I've got the power, I've got the thing, I'm right, you're gonna do that. I mean, 21 needs that power. 21's the enforcer to help control the tribe, to keep it in line so it doesn't die. And so it needs that authority. Now, when it goes off the rails, we know what that looks like. That looks like, you know, you can die for all I care. That's what it looks like. He's got 21 twice. He wanted to control things. And if you can pop over to Tesla, well, Tesla had that ego. And look at, he kingdom.
He had it the other side.
He has the other side. Oh, wicked.
They complete a gate together.
They complete that channel. This channel of materialism. So as soon as he met, so the first
Even
time
this one too.
when he first met Nikola Tesla, he wanted to work with him. Tesla put that ego into him, and he saw that he could possibly control the whole thing, not realizing 45s can't be controlled. Actually, no one can be controlled. 21 has no right to control anything except itself and what its, you know, design and its correctness and its strategy and authority lead it to correctly for itself. A 21 in the right environment will have a bunch of people happy to say, yes, ma'am, I love it. Thank you. What else? And then be about their day. I had a girlfriend with a 21. I didn't mind doing that. I got no skin in this channel. I got no gates in this channel. I didn't care. So that's what he did. He put that ego into him and made Edison want to compete. And because Tesla is far more the natural ruler of the tribe in a way, Edison didn't stand a chance. He would have resented that. He would have also resented all of the energy.
Brilliance.
Well, yeah, and he would have resented the brilliance. He would have resented the energy that Tesla showed up with to constantly keep things fueled. And he would have been attracted into him because look at, so Tesla has this gate 27. Go back to Edison's chart. 27 off of the sacral, bottom of the sacral. Edison unconsciously has the gate 50 on the other side. They have these wicked, powerful tribal electromagnetics that pulled Edison into a generated field where Edison as a projector would have felt recognized, at least at first, until their opinions diverged. Edison was chasing money and power more so than anything. He's got this profile line, that 4-6 profile.
Yeah.
In your profile, you're constantly beating back and working with yourself to be in your correct place so that you cannot be in your dishonor of hypocrisy. 6 lines are aware at a deep energetic level that they are in their correct righteous place in their honor, or they're potentially within their hypocrisy, and or they don't care and they're hypocrites, one of the two, of some form or another. So we're looking at this 4-6 profile. This 4th line of this profile wants nothing more. Guess what 4th lines want? They want influence. It's the line of influence. Every hexagram where you see a 4th line, they want to externalize their fixed position and gain influence with what all of that is all about. They want to network. They want to become influential. They want to ultimately make an impact with their influence on their local network. So Edison was a master networker. And so he brought all of that to Tesla. If you go back to Tesla, Tesla's not a natural networker. He's a 3-6 profile like you, Robbie.
I thought that. No wonder I love him. That sexy serpent.
Yeah. When I say a natural networker, I mean, this man Edison just would speak. He couldn't wait to externalize his next thing. He's on the cross of explanation, for God's sakes.
Wow.
Yeah, he's required to explain stuff, and it's unconscious in him. So he was mad and bitter if people wouldn't recognize his explanations of stuff. So when along comes Tesla and doesn't need his explanations, because Tesla's got all the explanations he needs through the wonder of his discovery and his trial and error way that was always bumping into this and that. So he wouldn't necessarily have liked that very much over time. And Edison really did seem to live much of this out. This 49-4, and this gate 49, which is in his sun. This is the gate of principles. It's called revolution, and it helps the principles that install the values that he also has in his body graph. And where are you? 49 revolution, the gate of principles. Well, this foundation of this gate that is in his sun is the law of necessity, and it's basically revolution has no support, meaning bringing something that has the correct principles for the tribe. That's a revolution. Do we need to revolt to bring in the correct principles? We're currently undergoing revolution on the planet at this time, because we've seen the principles aren't right. Now, those principles are deeply tribal, sensitive, needing, emotional. That's emotional things. We emotionally need to get clear on what the principles are. Now, think about what this gate does when it's not clear inside humanity's emotional wave. It is driven in him to externalize the principles that are of the highest and best for all, for the tribe, for the people. That's what it's supposed to be doing. And its foundation is this law of necessity that basically you need to stick with, is it really necessary? And it's the awareness that potential of a principle is based on being accepted and viable, and it is not based on greed, gain, or money. It's for a higher purpose. That's what a true principle is to this gate. That's the foundation of it.
So is there like a shadow side to that? Because I really feel like that he was working. I don't think he was always working like that.
No, he wasn't, because
I feel like that once he got connected to JP Morgan or whatever, it's like it was all about like pursuing money.
Yes. Yes.
I mean, it's like when they invented the light bulb originally, it's like they lasted way longer than they last now. I mean, they did that because they wanted a renewable, something that they could have somebody keep coming back to purchase.
Right. Right. So all of that stuff would have been, in Edison's racket. He brought innovation, God, by the way. He was not without his innovation. He's uniquely individual. His definition, the actual definition of body graph, is strictly in the individual circuitry. This man was mutative. He brought explanation. He had his own knowing. He knew what he knew. In fact, Edison helped deliver AC instead of DC, and I believe AC allowed it to be more
The other
stable.
way around.
It was
Huh?
the other way around.
Yeah.
Edison wanted DC so they could put it. Yeah, it's
Oh.
Tesla who wanted AC,
Well,
and
'cause
then
you know what? That one didn't make sense to me each time I heard it, but I thought I had heard it that way. And every time I thought about it, I was like, it sounds like Tesla would have come. Okay. Well, yeah. Well, then in that case, he was more pissed about it. His knowing got trumped by the other individual whose uniqueness he was driven with all that energy to come to a new, better knowing. The knower doesn't like to know that they don't know, unless they're awake. In their awakeness, they don't care. They're just happy for new knowing. The shadow side to that, Robbie, is oversensitivity to rejection. This incredible, it commits acts of disorder to prove that disorder exists. The helter-skelter effect, oversensitivity to rejection that can turn a principle into a crusade. If anyone remembers the helter-skelter effect, it was Charlie Manson said, let me kill a bunch of white people, blame it on black people, and create a race war. Create disharmony and disorder where none existed in order to show that there is disharmony and disorder. So he would have tried.
he did do that to Tesla.
Yeah, right. Well, that's the foundation of this.
He tried to prove that what Tesla's experiments were unsafe.
Right. Does it sound like today? Trying to prove that alternative treatments don't work and they're only for
Oh
this.
yeah.
Right. On and on. It's just
and it's like, and it's like, I mean, Tesla was more, it's like he just wanted it out there. He wanted it out there for everybody. And he wanted it free. And it's like those they didn't want that, it's such a shame. Our planet would be in such a different place if stuff had
this
been.
fourth line being a projector wanted the recognition. He wanted it. He's got that gate 16 in his throat, which made him enthusiastic about wanting it. He had that channel of explanation, this channel of structuring, which is 43 to 20, which explains stuff. He has gate 11, which is a great teaching gate, and he's driven by it. It's in his moon. And that line 6 is interesting, by the way. And so those are his ideas, and he doesn't want them being rejected, challenged, gone dark. When someone else knows something new, suddenly he feels unrecognized because his ideas now are dark compared to the other ones. They've gone dark. They're no good anymore.
That makes sense.
Yeah. And all of this would have been going on in his not self. He's a split definition. So he always would have felt like he was missing something. Here's gate 16 in his body graph, and he's got no gate 48. That would have bridged his split. Gate 48 from the spleen is the gate of awareness of depth, the depth of which to be talented about. And this whole channel would create this incredible channel of talent. Lennon and McCartney made this channel together. And I just use that because they become an archetype of what is this interesting, creatively talented, expressive, deep within the deep type stuff. So he always thought he didn't have enough depth. And he was never happy enough with the fact that he could just be enthusiastic. By the way, that happens to me. That happened to me over and over again. I had gate 16 and no 48. When I was learning to play the piano, I could repeat over and over again because gate 16 is so enthusiastic. But I was always concerned I didn't have the depth. Someone else would come along and play something really good, and I would suddenly wonder, how come I'm not good enough? And that was my open ego talking. And this man has got the exact same thing going on in that respect. So
you felt like you were
not deep enough.
Not deep enough. You also felt like inadequate or like not as talented as or not as, and I definitely
and scared of being shown up at that moment.
Dude, that is like exactly the relationship Edison and Tesla had, but not in the beginning. I mean, because Tesla idolized Edison, but it's like
in the very beginning, it would have done what all electromagnetic connections and and compromised channels do in the beginning, they all feel so juicy. There's something there. So, and by the way, that first line we've been reading out, that's the foundation of Gate 49. Everything is built on that foundation. That principles are based on the best and highest use of those principles, and that to enact the principles and to make any changes, there better be an extreme necessity. That's the foundation. Show me a necessity or I'm not starting the revolution. That's the basis of this gate. That's the foundation. He had the harmonic to that, what we call, the harmony to that, line 4. So I just read 49, line 1, Jen, and now I'm going to read 41, line 4. 1 and 4 are harmony to each other. 4 is now externalizing the foundation set in lines 1 through 3. That's what fourth lines do. They're vital. We need them. We need everything. We just need them correct. That's all. I hate reading charts and talking about the douchebaggery of somebody because it makes me wonder if people will take that personally about themselves today, and they shouldn't. In our correct way, these things are perfect. It's called platform, and it's political and social agenda driven. It's embodied and guarantees human rights and ensures just values and replacements of old orders in place of the new ones that are needed. But it's only as a potential, because this is a person's externalizing. So it's only the potential sensitivity to the needs of society. So he had sensitivity to the needs of society, but wanting to be influential, which is what fourth lines want more than anything. They just want to make that impact and network and be friendly and get in there with the things and hold it together till at some point in time they can be influential enough to make an impact. That's what they want. I have a fourth line in my profile. You see me, I'm driven towards that over and over. And it's on my design side. But the darkness is this potential insensitivity to it all, not the need for the best for what's for society, but to take advantage of the needs of society strictly for one's own gain. And it could be for the gain of one's tribe. Even in its detriment, he would bring that home to his tribe, his family, for instance. His family fared very well, didn't they? Anything after Edison, all the children and grandchildren of Edison, I'm sure, made it somewhere, and they're all into something, and except a couple maybe. But so insensitivity to it, and the insensitivity to why to even have a revolution in the first place. Here's this man waffling back and forth with a foundation, not knowing if he's even building the right principles, wanting to do something for society. That would have naturally risen up in him until he was out in the auras of the others, when suddenly he just wanted to be recognized. And if they didn't recognize him, then he wanted to screw him over and prove that he could get there first. And he was just there for himself. That's the potential of this fourth line in this profile. And so something else about Edison. This is incredible. So Edison and Nikola Tesla. Nikola Tesla could have cared less about so many things because he had that channel 1222. And 1222 just says, I'm not listening. I don't know. I can't tell. I don't know if I feel like it or not. Gate 12 is this incredible manifesting, impacting power that simply says, maybe not. Maybe. I don't know. Maybe not. I don't know. I know I can if I feel like it. I know I can do this thing if I feel like it or not. I know I can stay with you, Edison. I know I can empower you. I know I can do it or not. I don't know. Maybe not. It's fickle. And Edison. So,
I have this channel.
I have gate 12. And it's fickle. It doesn't know if it wants to. Maybe it doesn't. And that's its right. It's supposed to be that way. So when it's acting in its nature and it turns into I know I can as a voice, suddenly it can manifest I know I can. That channel. It's pouring right out of a motor directly to a throat. And for this generator, all he would have needed to is have the next new stunning moment of aha, because he discovered something. And then his I know I can will turn on just fine, and his generative juice will pour at it all day long, and he'll be driven through his channel of being driven to start the beginning of that and finish it, and through the channel of maturation. And he would have done so shockingly well. He was a shocker at it all. He shocked himself, and he loved that. I bet you some of his discoveries were so shocking to him that he was just giddy. You know, it kept him up day and night doing it. Like, you know, sometimes when I start listening to CDs and so forth. And off the top of his throat, Tesla's throat, he's got that gate of explanation 2 times in his body graph. He had no problem as his response himself, what he would explain. And when you go back to Edison, Edison had the whole channel. He would attempt to compromise Tesla. No, I'll explain it this way. And Tesla would be like, except when he wasn't. In the beginning, Edison would, Tesla would have been intimidated a little bit just because of the power dynamic, right? And the differences. And there would have been, you know, in the beginning, I'm certain there would have been certain acquiescences. However, not many and not for long. Not many and not for long. So if Thomas Edison has this principled nature that were his own principles, and he's living out this dark side of it only, or majoritively that has this insensitivity and this need to take advantage of the needs of society and to create the needs of society. Don't forget, in the lower expression, on the foundation of it is the need to create an event, false flag event, that shows why we need to be protected from false flag events. That's what the detriment of the first line. How's that funny, Robbie? What did I?
That just struck me as really funny.
Yeah, well, that's the thing. So one of the last things that then I'll point out about Edison's chart here is, so as a projector, every time he was recognized, out of him came strategic brilliance. He was great. Lots of people called on him to be strategically freaking smart for them. Guaranteed. Edison had a prominent role all over the hierarchy. So he fit in, he did his thing. But in his personal, individual, in his inside self, he was always aware that I can't tell what those principles are supposed to be. I can't tell. They seem to change depending on who I'm in contact with. This would have been confusing for him. Because look, his gate 49 in his emotional solar plex center is in an open center.
Yeah, open center.
Whenever you have a gate in an open center, whoever hooks up that gate conditions that gate quite thoroughly. It's correct for you to do that as long as it's in your correct nature to be with that person. But just be aware that we can't get away from the conditioning. Isolation. Go live on a mountaintop. Never talk to anyone. And you'll get rid of most of the conditioning, but you'll still have the transit above you. The goal isn't to get away from the conditioning. The goal is to exist within it in harmony to it. As we know our charts, we know what is us and what isn't us. And so he would have had problems in his internal papers, in his diaries, and his stuff. He had pillow talk with the missus or whatever, and his best friend during moments of lament, deeply emotional, because he has all those emotional triggers in his solar plex center, and it's wide open. He was Savannah's post today about the gifts and the detriments of the centers, little one-liners. The solar plex was so good. The wisdom to know how to, when you're feeling deeply, to know that it's pouring through you, and to experience all the feeling deeplies of all the different emotions that could come through. And there is that great wisdom, but there were too many times it was clouded. His open head center was thinking about too many things. He was under pressure to be in a hurry. He was trying to prove himself. And
he's got pressure coming in from both sides.
Both sides, pressure sandwich. And just consider that look at all 4 motors are open. He was starved.
Yeah, I know. I just noticed that too.
Starved for energy.
That my gosh, I would be exhausted around him.
Well, yeah, because he would be right. He was constantly wanting the energy of others to do the things. So at some point in time, Tesla got sick of that, or didn't feel right to him, shall I say. But just as importantly, so if this gate 49 makes up the beginning of his whole incarnation cross of everything he's going to explain, and he's got this open ego that wants to control and shock things, be first and prove it. And that's part of his principles, way of making principles. Well, guess what? Those principles are intermittent, and he doesn't know how they're going to come out until the other conditions him. And when you go back to Tesla's chart, look who turns on that center. And everything with this center becomes a crisis. And look who provokes that center. He's got a gate 39, Tesla does, off of that root center.
Yes, and he's
That's-
got the 55, and Edison's got, yep.
The 55. So Edison's spirit would come online. His principles would come online, along with whatever Nikola Tesla's crisis was at the moment. Would 36 would come online. All the stuff would come online, including Tesla's ability to throw up a big fat caution out of his gate 12 and say, I know I can or not, and maybe I don't feel like it. Well, we need it to go this way. You know what? I'm not chasing down that experiment, Edison, Thomas. I don't want to anymore. Edison would have felt betrayed by that. I'm in control here. I brought you here. I did this. And there's Tesla with his gate 45 saying, I don't know what you're talking about. I'm the king of that thing. Sorry. Not without a lot of nerves. There was a lot of nerves and tension in these moments. I'm not saying that Edison either one of these men just graced on through it with ease. Nikola Tesla would have been terribly nervous about what he wasn't certain of. That triple split of his would have, been vibrating with all the things that it's not. But look, he's also got that gate 49 and the gate.
He was a germaphobe, and like he wore gloves to shake people's hands.
Tesla or Edison?
Tesla.
Wow, I didn't know that.
Yeah.
I don't know where that would be in here. He had a crisis at one point in time. His spleen is working just fine. He must have seen something somewhere along the way that he became intuitively aware of, and that was
Maybe it was an energy thing.
Could have been.
I bet it was, especially if he was Venusian.
Well, yeah, because I'm getting to the point where I'm selective with who I hug.
Really? Okay.
Yeah, well, yes, because you pick up if somebody has something else on them, like attachment or whatever, you can get that through handshakes and hugs.
Huh.
Absolutely.
Yep.
That's why some people get to the point where they don't do handshakes. And if he was Venusian, he would probably be taking that to a step deeper, because entities can get attached to objects and stuff like that. So maybe he was a spirit phobia or whatever, just do it as protection.
I definitely have that.
That's what it was. I can totally see that.
Well,
that's hysterical.
Robbie.
He definitely was neurodivergent, I believe.
Yes.
It's like thinking outside the box, and it's fascinating that in those FBI files that they said that he was from Venus. I'm fucking wow.
Yeah, this is
I've
what
read
we're
a lot
talking
of
about,
stuff.
guys.
I've read a lot. I've studied him for years. I love him. If he was incarnated, I'd want to marry him.
This is taken out of the Tesla FBI documents. They are in the description. It's the third one, page 3, I believe. 3, imagine that. Margaret Storm has been assigned to certain work with the space people as follows. She has written a book, Return of the Dove, a story of the life of Nikola Tesla, scientist, and the part of his inventions will play in the new age. Much of the data for this book has been supplied to Miss Storm through transcripts received on the Tesla set, a radio type machine invented by Tesla in 1938 for interplanetary communication. Tesla died in 1943, and his engineers did not build the Tesla set until after his death. It was placed in operation in 1950, and since that time, the Tesla engineers have been in close touch with spaceships. The space people have visited with Tesla engineers many times and have told us that Tesla was Venusian, brought to this planet as a baby in 1856 and left with Mr. and Mrs. Tesla in a remote mountain province in what is now Yugoslavia. So I think I did find a PDF copy of this book, guys, too. If you are interested in wanting to read that, reach out to me. I can definitely get you a copy of that, or if you have any questions.
You're saying that this written material is part of an FBI file?
Yes.
Yes.
Wow.
It is if you go to the FBI.govs and you go into the public record, the link in the description is straight from the FBI.gov file, all their documents in their vault that you can go and, I mean, it's fascinating reading. I mean, you go search, and if you don't know how to get to them, let me know. They did redo their website, so you have to know at the very where to go. But yes, this was in there. They had different dates for Tesla too, being born in 1859 in a different location. But Tesla throughout his life has said many times that he was channeling ETs. I believe him to be Venusian.
I believe him to be Venusian, at least Venusian.
At least Venusian. So, and there's a lot of people within our life and through history that you will, at one point in time come to realize that, yeah, you are dealing with an alien. They may not look like what you think that they do, but absolutely there's, they're a vessel of something and they're channeling certain information. Most of what, I mean, when she put in here that his inventions will play in the new age, he was already talking about cell phones and radios and all sorts of stuff like that, of the devices that we are using nowadays. So there's the free energy is what he wanted to give the world. And they used Edison to stop that because they can't, you can't make a profit when you're getting free energy from the planet that we live on, just like they did in the pyramids. Like for anybody in Egypt, that is what pyramids are. They're energy devices. It's not some tomb for someone to be buried in.
I think it was cool.
That's why they're all over the world.
They're all over the world,
right.
Egypt, and they're all in there in the United States. If you want to actually,
there's one in St. Louis. I mean, they're everywhere.
There's pyramids that have grass and gravel and stuff that are grown over it, and people will be like, "That's a mountain." And when I drove from here to New Mexico, when I got to New Mexico, I was like, "There's a pyramid. There's a pyramid. There's a pyramid." But it's covered up because they've, stuff has grown over it. But I mean, Egyptians, they had electricity. Tesla lit up what was Colorado Springs with no wire.
Cliff.
Yes, no wire. The whole place had, and Edison's men came in and shut it down because you can't make a profit when you are freeing the people of free electricity. That's why he was
trying to do that through the ground. But
yes.
Well, let's go back and look at these two charts, because as you guys keep talking about that, the one thing then that stands out most of all is these variables, this cognition and this path through life. Edison looks to Tesla looks to the future with his rightness. He looks to the future, open and receptive to anything that would have been cool and empowering. And he got so much juice out of simply empowering the other as a generator with all this individuality, that if the people appreciated Tesla was wicked excited about that. Super duper, just always excited at anything he could do that suddenly was good for the tribe and the world. And he was open to all of that, open and receptive, not strategic. Go over to Edison's chart and you'll see a near total reverse of that. I'm talking about the arrows, how all the arrows.
Yeah. Oh, yeah. Edison's is all to
Edison
the left.
is almost all left. He interfaced with him on his view. He and Edison and Tesla could share, in a sense, a way to be open to the view of things. But everything else about him was just strategic, especially his mind, his personality, and his whole brain system were strategic. He was in awe that Tesla would have Googles of information go by him, and then 6 months later recall a detail that Edison couldn't go in and get if he had to. Edison, Nikola Tesla was the early form of Google to Thomas Edison. Thomas Edison was the early form of navigation and road maps for strategic navigation onto a purpose. That's what Edison was to Tesla. The strategic helps navigate which is the left-facing arrows. The right-facing arrows become the ocean of the information by which they're navigating. And the people who are facing right with right-facing arrows can't go in and strategically navigate very well with that information. We can't go in there and really grab it easy. We are the storehouses of it. That's part of our yin-yang format that we are with each other. It's an amazing way to put yin-yang into humanity. It means we have to, another reason we have to commune. So if these men were themselves and totally cool about things and chill about stuff, Edison would have been like, dude, I got the right path for all of this. And he would have recognized all the times that Nikola Tesla didn't want to hear it. And he said, oh, let me move on to the next thing, but I still got you here. And then Nikola Tesla would have always trusted Edison to be the wise guide that we expect our projectors to be, to which I
feel like he did that though and got taken advantage of. Is that in the
well,
human
because
design?
Edison wasn't the wise guide. Edison's principles were based in needing to take advantage of the needs of society and create problems to prove there's a problem.
Yeah. So that's like the very beginning of let's create the problem so we can create the solution.
Right.
Yes. Yes.
Right. Exactly.
That makes a lot of sense.
Exactly. And that's and listen, if you have this gate in your body graph and you see that sometimes you've been in that way, just recognize it's there for a purpose. Sometimes we have to create an issue. You know, when I first started reading human design, I had to create that there was something wrong with anyone I was speaking with, as in that what they didn't know, in order to solve the problem. So it's not that there's no good redeeming value in having that as a principle partially in your way. Don't forget in the rest of all of the gates of your body graph. But when it's in your design, what's in your personality sun, what's driving you, the energy pouring in, and you're living that out day in and day out, and you're an opportunist, gate 4, line 4th opportunist. That's keynote, the opportunist. Show me the opportunity to be influential. And
maybe the opportunity to take advantage.
Right. And to create an issue to take advantage of it. No wonder Edison's people shut down Tesla's experiment there in college.
I mean, you know, it really, like the AC/DC thing was a huge thing between those guys, because it's like, I mean, Edison really believed that AC was the only way to go, and then here comes Tesla with this, you know, alternating current, you know, and we've got direct current over here, but it's like it would weaken over time. That's why it needed to alternate. And that's right. How, I mean, otherwise we wouldn't, I mean, if Nikola Tesla would have never met Thomas Edison, would we even had alternating current? You know, I mean, we probably would have, but
alternating current is needed, you're right, to make it long distances. Direct current is good when it's a car battery to the starter, and that's how batteries work, direct current. A flashlight, that's direct current. It doesn't need to alternate short distance. Yeah, you're right. You're right, Robbie. So anyway, so Tesla let the sunshine out for this man. And then when Tesla took the sunshine away, this man got bitter and didn't like it and couldn't find a way to be influential and couldn't be of an impact. And the opportunities started slipping away because he had all the opportunities in the world when Tesla was his fanboy, you know, in the beginning. But being strategic the way he is, a non-energy, no motors in his body graph, deeply conditioned was this man to control others. Deeply conditioned.
Or wanting to control others. I mean, that's also, you know, projector thing, isn't it? Wanting to.
It's not so much control, so it's about a real projector thing is to recognize when they're being recognized so that their power can come out. You don't need to have motors defined in your body graph to have all the power of your projector being come out. You know, none of that's required. It's just that what they would end up trying to be. Edison was very sad, and he tried to be the motors that he wasn't. That's the not self theme. That's the propaganda. That's the manifesting propaganda he would have been fed growing up about having to go out and initiate and make it happen. And he has a gate 51 in his body graph, which wants to initiate, and it's always conditioned by the other, wanting to compete. It's a mess, which, again, none of it stops this man throughout his life many, many times from having been his proper projector self that just recognized, no, this is the right principle. But when there was more and more money and power at stake, more and more chances for him to lose his influence and lose his opportunity to be of master influence, the more and more that would have happened, the more his strategic not self would have come out and just done whatever it needed and corrupted the principles. Corruption. So that's, in a nutshell, this is the thing that went back and forth between these two. As a projector, he loved being recognized for whatever it was he could master. He tried to master many things, but in his despair, the gates that bridge his split, look at gate 20 bridges the split and gate 49 bridges split. 20 off the throat and 49 off the spleen. And gate 8 bridges a split and gate 33 bridges a split. The sport bridging mean the gate that would bring the two halves together, right? So he's got the channel of a perfected form. 59 goes to 10. See that there? That is one part of Edison. So Edison's got this splenic awareness of his identity, and he's always looking at the behavior of others. He was always looking at Tesla's behavior. And all of the gates that could go up to the throat center don't. You see how it doesn't connect to that throat center. Mm-hmm. So everything about him that's a verbal gunslinger that can explain stuff is disconnected from his identity. So he needs a little extra time to digest how will he explain certain things. And the holy grail to his life are the gates on the other ends of these splits. So on the other end of gate 1 off of his identity is contribution. I know I've got this creative gate 1 idea. It's the yangest of them all. I am Mr. Yang creative idea. That's his gate 1. I can't make the contribution. I just want to make the contribution. How come I'm not making the contribution? No one's recognizing me as a contribution. All he wanted to do was be the contribution instead of just the creative force that's there in the first place. It is gate 1. It's off the identity. This is the extreme expression of the creative. We love it. We love our gate 1s. More, please. I want to go to gate 16 is one of the biggest ones. And without 48 there, there he is aware that he can make all of these things. He wants to make his contribution. He's got his knowing, but he's not sure about his depth. He doesn't feel deep. He's always seeking to prove he's got the depth. I'm going to prove I have the depth. And when he can't prove he has the depth, he hides. He hides and he's scared and he can't tell what he's supposed to do. And in that not knowing, he just get mad. Just get mad and bitter and angry because he didn't have the depth. He's not supposed to have the depth. He's just like I am. The depth comes over time through repetition, dum-dum. He didn't know that. But because he gets good at repeating and becoming enthusiastic. So that's your skill, buddy. That's what I did. I didn't have the depth of human design. I had to repeat for years, over and over and over and over again, like I play the piano. And then suddenly, it hit me. Now I can play the piano. Now I can read. Now I have depth. It had to come there organically. Gate 50 and gate 10 want to go to gate 20. So his perfected idea of his beauty, of his love, of his self wants to be heard right now. Gate 20 says, I am now. So suddenly you put all this not self theme together and you've got, why can't I make my contribution? I know I'm supposed to be deep enough and they're not listening right now. You will listen to me right now, Tesla. I know what to contribute. I figured it out too. You're not the only one with depth. That was his not self voice. It's sad. I mean, it's sad that, and it would have come out enough times to where even if he, on a sober moment later, realized, well, that was a little stupid, he would still wonder why all these things came out, and they would still plague and beguile his open centers. And take this projector who's really just supposed to be witnessing where all the good energies. You know what the beautiful thing for a projector that has 4 open energy centers? They can sit in the middle and hear the hum of the motor of the humanity around them and recognize where is the energy being used well, where is it being used like crap, where's that the stupidest thing I ever saw, where is it the smartest thing I ever saw. He had all the skills and talents by which to go ahead and explain that with his channel of explanation, unconscious, always perfect. unconscious channels are always perfect. The being witnessing them aren't, but the channel itself works perfectly. And so he had an explanation for everything. And he had a right-facing arrow in his view, so he had this broad, peripheral, expansive view. He could have seen where all the energy we was using right. He didn't put that particular expertise to work in the world, per se. He put a strategic, how can I have more power? I want to be of influence, and I need to be an opportunist with all the people I meet. As soon as he shook hands with Nikola Tesla, it was like, how can I get my opportunity out of you? There's nothing wrong with that when you're yourself. There is something wrong with that when you're going to live out an expression that says, I have an oversensitivity to rejection that will turn principles into my crusade of how I will potentially be insensitive to the needs of society by creating different needs of society to show that there's a need that I can take advantage of. That was where Edison really lost his way. And that would have been where Nikola Tesla went back in time and said, I'm not dealing with this. That's stupid. I don't like it. His rightness and his openness would have said, I don't like it. I don't like it. His generator self would have been, His emotional wave would have been going up and down on him. And he would have been so depressed the first few times. He and Edison really had it in for each other, or something was going wrong because he wouldn't have known necessarily why. And his wave would have had to go through. And then he would have experienced, Edison would have experienced Tesla's wave, emotional wave, and suddenly he didn't like it. What is that? And he's avoiding it. So now Edison's a liar, in these moments of avoidance. And that gate 11, line 6 for him, and gate 50, line 4, his moons. Gate 50, line 4 is called corruption. And it's the lack of enriching values. And it's where the fourth lines are supposed to identify and externalize where do we find the lack of enriching values. It's about so he's a projector. He's here to recognize
3 times.
Yep. So he's here to recognize where is there a lack of enriching values. But
Wow.
But instead he ends up living out the true corruption of the potential disregard of all the values that may lead to the corruption and the breakdown of the whole defense system itself. So he could corrupt and break down anything and not even know why he was doing it, and then go ahead and feel like crap later, and then realize he just got paid a ton of money for it and said he doesn't feel like crap. All of this stuff would have been an internal struggle inside of this 9-centered being with all of these bridging gates of what contribution did he make? How deep is he? How come he can't have it now? Why isn't it shocking? Why can't I control stuff? All of this going on. And why does no one let my sunshine out? My gate 49's in an open center. No one lets my sunshine out. I have to struggle to let my sunshine out. And frickin' Tesla's got the gate of provocation. Why is Tesla always provoking me? He's always provoking me. In fact, what Edison couldn't have known, which had he seen his chart, he would have known. He would have known, I bring the spirit that makes what's his name want to provoke me. Okay.
Well, it's like, so the story is that, Tesla, like when he first, got to America, Tesla had a note from, I forget who, but he worked in Paris and I think like Prague or something like that, as an engineer, and then he was gonna and he decided that he wanted to go try his luck in America and meet Thomas Edison. And so whoever I can't remember the person's name, but it was somebody that was very esteemed, wrote a letter to Thomas Edison saying, I've known 2 brilliant men in my life. One is you, sir, and the other is this young man holding the letter, Nikola Tesla.
I love that.
And, and so first thing that, Edison did is he shook his hand and, he's like, I'll make you a bet. I will pay you $50,000 if you can improve my direct current. And so he did, and he never got paid. And it's like, and of course, Edison, was like, well, once you become a full-fledged American, you'll understand jokes. But that really wasn't, he was pissed. He quit working for him. And, and he went and dug ditches. Isn't that crazy?
Wow. Well,
I mean,
third line
there,
is that.
there was really no love lost between them after, after you did that.
Right. Well, but they still think about as soon as one is a person of consequence to the other, when they first meet, they have this little mini love affair. I mean, every two beings have it. They find in the other what seems energizingly feels good. Something feels good because of the possibilities, right? There's always all these, and two great men coming together, all these possibilities. So even if it was only a week or two before he went from digging the guy to wanting to go dig ditches, they still did that time in aura to each other. They put that imprinting in each other. And I think it was longer than that, but so that they were in each other's aura on a regular basis. So that's what it is. That moon, that gate 11, line 6 of his personality moon, in the not self of that, it is this adaptability. It's about adaptability of the ideas, the adaptability of the ideas, and this ability to find a balance between the transition from one idea to the next. And sometimes you're super adaptable. Ideas lead to adaptability and changeability. No big deal. In its detriment, this what's supposed to be a role model turns into adaptability in its most negative manifestation. It's simply the adaptability of the person whose ideas are those of the speculator, whose profits at the expense of the others in times of peace and war, not regardless of what the times are. The realization of what ideas of value in any situation, as long as it can profit themselves, regardless of is it at the expense of the other. That was an expression this man lived out. I'm not saying exclusively, but when he came right up against it and his open ego got challenged and suddenly he feels worthless and there's an emotional conflict because he's open emotionally and he tries to avoid the conflict and he's under all this pressure because he wants to get rid of the pressure and he's got this open head center thinking about too many things and he wants to show his depth in the now and he wants it to be in the now and he wants it to be his contribution, that gate that he's missing, and all of that takes place all at once. Yeah. I just did that to you. I went ahead and said, I'm just going to profit at the expense of you. I'm not going to say anything, and we're going to shut you up. And sorry about that, kid. Turn away, walk away, try to pretend it never happened so he could sleep at night. That's the old way.
That is the old way. Yes. That happened a lot in that time period, too.
Yep. That happened a lot amongst all kinds of people back then. That's shaking off.
I mean, I think about too, it's like, like George Westinghouse, took Nikola Tesla's, AC current and wanted to, do what he was going to do with it. But it's like, it cost, it was the motor, the alternating current motor, something like that. Anyway, he couldn't, it cost him a lot of money to be able to do that. And it almost bankrupted it, pretty close to $0 in the bank for Westinghouse. And so and Westinghouse was always honest with Tesla, whereas Edison wasn't. And so he asked if he would waive his royalties. So they did a handshake and that was that, and he lost out on millions and millions of dollars because of that eventually, which is sad. But it's I believe Tesla never really even cared about the money. I mean, it's and I believe Thomas Edison, the graphs are so amazingly explaining how I think he wanted to be a good guy, but his ego was too much to be able to just. It's he wanted the power. He wanted to be the best inventor, Right. But here comes Nikola Tesla, who's improving on his own work and making it better. I don't know,
dude. All the major inventor people that have come up with just the most crazy stuff, they have rightness in their variables. Not all, it's not exclusive. But when you grow up with all strategic variables, it's hard to be the next new inventor in certain cases, not all, in some, because you need that openness. The openness of the right-facing arrow for a personality, right-facing personality arrow allows the being to not be attached to anything because they're simply open till all whatever's next new stuff is coming in. It leaves them feeling terribly insecure because they're not strategic about that. But these two would have been a perfect combination had Edison stuck to his lane and said, dude, I'm strategically aware of how to get all your shit to be the smartest thing ever. And put it to you this way, that Westinghouse deal you talked about, if Edison was acting out his true nature, not caring about the power part, because that's really not who he is, he would have been like, dude, what are you talking about? Wes? Here, hang on. Let me see if we can arrange something to make that Westinghouse deal work out for you. He would have been the opportunist trying to find the opportunity to share his expectations and his enthusiasm for the explanations that are his great ideas in the first place. Edison would have. Edison would have had the great idea of not the next invention, the great idea of let's support freaking Nikola Tesla. He just did the thing. He would have done what I'm always telling open ego people to do to defined ego people. Let them roar. You know, let them win. Let them do whatever the thing is, wherever that definition is, let it be true. And let it be glorious. So Tesla was always going to shockingly have that big fat ego of his drive that identity of his into finding the next new thing that he could start on. You know, he was always going to be that guy. And Edison would have been the perfect guy to go to Westinghouse and said, dude, don't give up on the deal. Don't go bankrupt. You need this thing. I saw what it is. I'm from your competitor, but nevertheless, stay in it. Give him his money, his royalties, and we'll advance you alone with interest, but you'll be able to float through the hard time. That's what this 9-centered man would have done, awake to his nature, in that story that you just gave, Robbie.
Mm-hmm.
But
I mean, Edison was already out of the picture by, like Tesla had already written him off basically by that time. So
he looks like a Grinch.
Oh, it's like I look at him and JP Morgan and I just get the heebie-jeebies. It's like, oh, gross.
I wonder what Lori
Your energy rubs me the wrong way through this picture.
Yeah, that'd be interesting if she did that. And Nikki made a comment earlier about the letters that went back between Edison and Henry Ford. I'd like to do a little bit more research on that one.
So
they
two
had
giant capitalists.
Oh, Edison was tied in with a bunch of giant capitalists. That's
Right.
what I'm saying. Like,
all of them.
Yeah.
I don't mind the capitalists until they start trying to squash the glory of the uniqueness of the creativity of the individual, especially when
Well, that's what they did. That's why we've been fucked.
Yeah, for as long as we have. You're absolutely
Yes.
Yep. And that's why, like, the 3 people that, opposed the Federal Reserve all died on the Titanic.
Oh, yeah. No, that's not a coincidence. We've seen it before, like why they dropped the towers and everything. I mean, It's just on and on. I no longer believe anything.
Again, the false flag stuff. It's like I didn't have any idea that, like, I mean, it's interesting. There's a false flag channel.
There is. And not even channel, a gate, a line
A gate.
To create the helter-skelter effect, to create the emergency, to prove there's an emergency.
I don't like that gate. Can I have mine taken out of my chart?
Nope.
Do I have that?
I don't think so, Robbie.
I don't think I do either.
Yeah.
But I don't have my chart in front of me.
Excuse me, though. When this is in a regular individual walking around in our life, sitting, in our regular plane of existence here on Earth, where we're walking around knowing each other, they're going to need to bump into that basic quality in them so they can learn what's the right mixture. We don't want to pull out the eraser yet, Robbie, and start erasing lines, even though the temptation seems to be there. But you don't want to do that because we need that. It builds a foundation.
Yeah.
It builds the foundation of what the more exalted version of it. You can't have that exaltation.
What not to do.
Yeah, it's basically the instructions on what not to live in for very long. If you're going to go there, only go there for a moment to see it.
Right.
That's what this lives out for us.
It's serving a purpose on the grand scheme of things.
Absolutely a huge purpose. And it doesn't have to make the person be a douche. And plus a person isn't one gate anyway. So there are always 20 gates approximately. But this man was riddled with his 4-6 profile. He, again, the opportunist. He didn't like Tesla after a little while, just looking at him, I wish Lori would do his face. And my final analysis was Tesla was too creative, unique, and wonderfully like Savanti for Edison, who strategically wanted to try and control him and had no ego authority to do so. And so he couldn't. And so one drove the other into some form of, extinction-ish, because he worked with all the other capitalists, Edison did, to try and crush Tesla. And it worked in one respect, but Tesla lives on, so it didn't in another. That's my final analysis of these two.
Very interesting. I will say that.
Mm-hmm.
There's just so much going on there. When I look at body graphs, I'm like, endless stuff.
Absolutely. And we didn't have much time to jump into the other chart that we had, but that's okay. That's okay. There's a lot of different ones. So we'll try to
what else did Nikki have to say? Anything?
She said the first one was, somewhere I read that Edison and Ford would write letters to one another in regards to certain business arrangements. I thought it was interesting to see them work together for profit and gain. And I did research that on the side. And yes, there's a couple of different letters that they have. I'm pretty sure there's more out there. Who knows what's on the FBI.gov, if there's anything like that as well. I didn't look up
It's not declassified yet.
Right, exactly.
Right.
So
Thank
we
you,
have Catherine that joined us. She said very interesting, and thank you for
Catherine.
our insights. And Nikki thinks that she may have sent you a documentary on YouTube. If I find it, I'll share it. So yeah, that interesting stuff.
If you send it to me, there's no guarantee that send it. Sorry.
You can send it, post it in the group, or send it to me. I'll definitely, check that out. So.
Oh my God. I'm loving your hair, Jen. It is fabulous. The more that I see it, I'm just like, wow.
I'm digging the hair too. Might have to stay like this for a while.
It's working out for you, Jen.
It's beautiful.
It is. It's very convenient, very light, and I feel much lighter. And I like how it looks. So
it looks
cosmopolitan, Jen.
It looks really super healthy. I love it.
Thank you.
She's glowing, Robbie.
So am I.
It's the light.
Your glow penetrates through that light.
Anyways, enough about me. Thank you guys for everybody who tuned in. As always, please make sure you like, subscribe, and follow the show. Share the information out. Drop your comments down below. And definitely check out the links down below to get your session with Dan and see what he has to find out about you. Or if you would like to get a couples reading, he's also doing that as well. So.
Yeah.
Be a great idea for Valentine's Day.
Oh, yeah.
Absolutely it was. And if you guys want to learn more about what the love gates are, check out last Sunday's episode. We covered that. It was pretty good episode.
It was amazing.
Yes, definitely check that out. And thank you, Robbie, for joining.
Oh, my pleasure. I didn't really, I didn't have anything to add other than my knowledge of Tesla, but today.
That was well worth it.
Yep, absolutely. Thank you, Robbie. And thank you, Jennifer.
You are very welcome. I love you both. Mwah!
Catch y'all later.
All right. Y'all have a good evening, guys. Bye.
Thank you.